Hey there and welcome, my name is Pete and today we complete the long overdue Q&A video. I promised to do one after hitting 1000 subscribers and you guys submitted a lot of questions that I will now try to answer. However, in true completionist fashion, I will not only answer your questions, but will actually complete a small game in the process. The game is Bitray, a short puzzle game that was released in 2016. It is available on Steam for about $1 or €1 depending on where you're located, and the game pretty much explains itself, so let's jump right in and get started with the questions. One of the questions that was asked the most: where are you from and what is that accent of yours? Well, I'm from Germany and that accent is probably a healthy mixture of the British English that I learned in school, the American English that I consume about 90% of my media in, and of course the effects that learning German as my first language have on the pronunciation of certain English words. Wind asked, what made you create this channel and what do you expect from it? Originally, I made this channel because I couldn't find one like it. In regards to YouTube, people always say make the kind of content that you yourself want to watch, and so I simply went ahead and did that. I know that there are some completionist channels on YouTube already, but only a handful actually explain their decisions in the game and offer some insights on what they do and why they do it. So in short, I always loved completing games to their fullest and I thought, well, why not go ahead and share that with others. In terms of what I expect from the channel, of course it would be amazing if I could one day do this as a full-time job, but I also like to keep a realistic perspective on things, and so at this point I think I'll just continue to focus on playing the games I like to play, while at the same time I will try to keep up the channel's growth, so that maybe in the near future I will be able to make a few bucks from it on the side. What game holds a special place in your heart and why? That is a tough question to which I probably have a few answers. The first game that comes to mind would be Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, the first and the second one, because even though the second one had its flaws, I still consider those two games two of the best games ever made. First of all, it's Star Wars, that alone is enough to win me over, and then the storytelling is great, the gameplay is a lot of fun, the characters are well written, there is really not a lot I can say that I dislike about those games. Another game that has a very special place in my heart is The Settlers 3. That game came out in 1998 and was one of the first games I ever played. While I didn't really understand the full scope of the game until much later, The Settlers 3 is probably still responsible for getting me into strategy games, which in turn probably also had an effect on how I approach video games in general. Last one, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for the PlayStation 1. Now, I never owned a PlayStation, but one of my best friends in school did, and we honestly played that game non-stop. Now, he was much better than I was, but that didn't really keep me from playing with him. Looking back, I think the game still has one of the best soundtracks in any video game ever, and I still have No Cigar by Millencolin on my playlist today. What is your favorite NBA team and why? That would be the New Orleans Pelicans. I actually started out as a fan of the Phoenix Suns in the 7 seconds or less era with Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Shawn Marion and so on, but I think I became a fan of the Hornets around 2006-2007 when the team still had guys like Chris Paul, Peja Stojakovic, Tyson Chandler and David West. I can't really say why I started to like them, to be honest. I think it also had something to do with Chris Paul, who back then I really liked as a player, although that perception has somewhat changed. But yeah, I've been a fan ever since. I hope the team finally makes the playoffs again this year, and I also hope they can keep DeMarcus Cousins around, otherwise I once again see dark times ahead for them. What else do you do in your spare time? Well, I have to admit YouTube takes up quite a large chunk of my free time at the moment. Other than that, I'm not only making basketball videos, but I'm also playing basketball myself. And with 2 practices per week and also the occasional game on the weekends, that also takes up a few hours of my time. The rest is pretty much spent studying and working, and that pretty much fills up my week already. Will you do more Sims in the future, and if so, which games? To be perfectly honest, I don't really know. I have decided that I will definitely not continue the Sims 3 playthrough with an expansion pack right away, simply because it's now going on for well over 80 episodes, so I have been playing this game for about 1.5 years now, more or less non-stop, and I've learned that you can tire even of the best games out there. Now, I still like the game and I think I might come back to 1 or 2 expansions later down the line, but for the moment the goal is to finish the playthrough of the base game, and then I will have a look at something else. Now, I'm not ruling out Sims 3 content entirely for the future, but it is very likely that the next videos will be one-off videos focusing on specific aspects of the game and less on a full-blown completionist playthrough. And I think I've said this before, I kind of underestimated the game in that regard. I never really thought that completing the game with 1 weekly episode would take me over 1.5 years. Of course, I will definitely finish the current playthrough, but I can't really make any promises for what comes after that. Do you make your videos by routing your episodes, or do you rely only on your knowledge of the game? Well, it depends on the game, but in most cases it's a mixture of both. For Mass Effect and also for the Portal series, I actually played through the section that I wanted to record beforehand, just so I knew exactly what was happening when and where. With Sim Sunday, for example, I don't do that. I just play and record myself while doing so, although pausing the game to check something happens quite frequently. Same is true for the NBA series. I have a backup save for that, but for example, with the trade offers we received in the last few episodes, I didn't really know those were coming beforehand. What's your plan for the channel after the big projects run out? Well, to start new projects, of course. Now, especially from the Mass Effect and the Sims series, I have learned something, and that is definitely that I don't want the next games to take me as long as those two did. So I might have to choose slightly shorter games, or I might need to cut a few more things out. I didn't really want to do that for a story-focused game like Mass Effect, but I am currently trying it for the Sim Sunday series, and so far I'd say that works out quite well. If we're talking about specific games, I haven't really decided yet what comes next. While Divinity Original Sin looked very intriguing as a replacement for the Mass Effect series, that game can't exactly be called short, and since the game itself is rather open and not as linear as Mass Effect is, I'm not quite sure how the completionist in me would tackle that. So yeah, whenever a playthrough is completed, we will of course start a new one, but it might take me a week or two to actually figure out what game I want to play. Are you going to do a Mass Effect 2 walkthrough? Yes, I will. I started the Mass Effect 1 walkthrough with the intention of playing through all 3 games, not necessarily Andromeda, but that might happen as well, and so I definitely intend to play through the second one now that the first one is finished. In all likelihood, that will not happen right away. Just like Sim Sunday, I played through Mass Effect for about 1.5 years now, and I think letting the game rest for a while is the best choice at the moment. I hope that allows me to collect new energy and also a new desire to play the game, which I have to admit is not all that strong at the moment. In the meantime, I will try to play something similar. I just mentioned Divinity Original Sin, for example, so I'll try to stick to the story-focused role-playing games in general. How do you improve your channel to hit 1000 subscribers? Well, I'm by no means an expert, but I would say hard work, good quality content, and a bit of luck. I think in the 1.5 years I've spent on YouTube now, the biggest takeaway were not the subscribers, it was the amount of things I learned. I learned a lot about audio quality, a lot about video editing, search engine optimizing, how to improve my thumbnails, so really the entire framework in which I then also happen to make videos. So do research, that would be my advice. Research which games are popular at the moment, research what's already on YouTube about those games, and also research what you could compete with, and in the end offer something unique that people want to see. That is what I try to do with all of my videos, and so far I think it has been moderately successful, and I hope it stays that way for the foreseeable future. Are you planning to expand your social interaction with your subscribers? Well, I think for the moment YouTube as a platform is enough. Now I have a Twitter and a Facebook page, but I'm not really active on either one of those. I do get the occasional message on Facebook, so if you want to contact me, that is a way to do that. But at this point, with only 1000 subscribers, I think I'll stick to YouTube for the most part. I have occasionally thought about live streaming, and that is definitely something I want to explore in the future. Whether on Twitch or on YouTube, I have no idea yet, but I think that would be a good start to have a few more, well, lively conversations with you guys. Do you enjoy all the planning necessary to complete a game? As a matter of fact, I do, yes. I know that sometimes the whole completionist approach sounds pretty tedious, but for me it's just the feeling that you just didn't miss out on something, the feeling that you just made the right decision, and that feeling of exploring every last corner and every last option of the game, that in itself is, at least for me, incredibly rewarding. So yeah, this is the way I play on YouTube and outside of it, simply because I found it's the way that I enjoy my games the most. And with that, we have reached the very prominently displayed end. I hope I could answer most of your questions. If you have any more, then of course feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Maybe if you're a subscriber who came from the NBA 2K series and you're now interested in how I approach the whole completionist thing, then I recommend checking out the Portal series, which I have linked on screen right now. And the series is only 3 episodes long, and I think it gives a very good first impression of how I play video games. If you're in for something longer and haven't checked out the Mass Effect series yet, then please do that. I think that goes a lot more into detail about how to approach a completionist playthrough. As always, if you liked this video, then leave a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, then feel free to do so to stay up to date. And again, leave any questions or comments you might have down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!